I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may.
Hi, welcome to Left Foot Media. My name is Brendan Malone and you're watching The Daily Question. Today's question of the day: is the new Star Wars film part of the Skywalker saga? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because some news has come out in the last week or so, a few more details about Episode 9, and apparently, well, according to lots of news outlets, this is going to be the, quote, last movie in the Skywalker saga. Now, when I read that headline, and it just popped up all over the place, lots of different outlets, my first thought was, well, is this new trilogy actually part of the Skywalker saga? Now, technically you'd say, well, yes, because the Skywalkers are involved, but unlike the other two films, I would say the Skywalkers are not actually a primary or major and important focus of this new trilogy, or certainly not in the way that they should be if you want to talk about this sort of being part of the Skywalker saga. So the first film, The Force Awakens, all of the characters who appear in that from the original trilogy, they really are ancillary to Rey and Finn and Kylo Ren. It's actually the beginning of their saga. Leia is this aging general, Luke is missing, he sort of crops up at the end, but it's not really, the Skywalkers are certainly not the focus of that film. And then in The Last Jedi, where we have the cynical and sloppy writing of the character of Luke Skywalker, he's not, you really wouldn't say that's consistent with sort of part of the Skywalker saga, in the sense that sort of Luke has suddenly appeared out of nowhere as the cynical old hindrance. It's not like he's really sort of a major part of this journey that the trilogy has started us on and is really carrying us through on. It's just sort of, he's there, he's in the film. It's like this weird sort of little side pocket where you've got Luke Skywalker having a personal identity crisis, and then Rey sort of helps him to resolve the identity crisis, and then he dies. But it sort of doesn't really feel like this is something you would call part of the Skywalker saga. And certainly at the end of it all, there was sort of no indication of where this Skywalker saga, supposedly, if that's what's happening here, is going to go to in any sort of meaningful or coherent kind of way. So I don't know, I think the Skywalker saga effectively, even though this new trilogy might try and claim that this is part of the saga, it really, I think, effectively writing-wise, it came to an end at Return of the Jedi. That's, I think, anyway. Now, I will be happy if, apparently according to this news, J.J. Abrams has got some footage that Rian Johnson wasn't able to use or didn't use in The Last Jedi of Leia, of Carrie Fisher. And so with the family, they've agreed to allow them to use this, and apparently they're not going to be using CGI. And so they're going to use this footage, and there is going to be, apparently there's going to be a fitting send-off for Leia. So she's going to be in this film, and my hope is that they actually do give her a fitting send-off. I'll be really happy for that character, because Princess Leia is one of the central characters of the original Star Wars trilogy, which is why I always chuckle when I hear groups trying to claim that the new trilogy broke new ground and gave us powerful female characters, and we've never had that in Star Wars before. And I was like, what are you talking about? Both of the trilogies, the original one and the prequel trilogy, had strong female characters in them. But in the original trilogy, right front and center is Leia, and so she's a much beloved character. And I think it would be kind of great if they could actually cleanse the palate of the Mary Poppins moment, which everyone, I don't know too many people, even people who are fanatic, diehard lovers of The Last Jedi, most of them are still saying that Mary Poppins moment was just a huge mistake. It was just a big mistake. Now, you have the odd person trying to defend it. She's become more force sensitive in a state of danger. It's like the ultimate survival instinct, and that's why she was able to force float her way back in. Even if you're going to want to try and take that line, which I think is just sloppy, the simple fact is that the way that played out on screen in that film was just laughable. It just didn't look good. It was not a moment of cinematic greatness. It was a cringy moment, right? And so I will be happy if J.J. Abrams is actually able to give that character a more fitting send-off. In regards to Luke Skywalker, what's going to happen to him? If I was a betting man, I would say that he's going to come back as some sort of Force ghost. I don't think he's going to be retconned. People are having great debates at the moment online about how much retconning, retroactive continuity fixing, is J.J. Abrams going to engage in. Well, I don't think he really can do a lot. It's not like he's going to say, well, let's start the movie with Rey waking up and what all the events in The Last Jedi were just a bad dream and Luke's really alive. I think he's probably just going to have to carry on with what he's been handed in this situation and sort of try and make the best of it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Luke. Once again, it would be great if they were able to give him a more fitting send-off, though, and actually recover a more authentic writing and vision of that character than what we were handed in The Last Jedi. But as far as I'm concerned, and there's a great sadness for me in this, I don't really think the new trilogy is sort of a big part of the Skywalker saga. For me, there were just too many missteps, and like I said in the first film, the Skywalkers are not even really a central focus of that film. They're just not. They're not. They're secondary characters. Interestingly enough, I think the first film was closer to how the Skywalkers probably should have been used in this trilogy. I think they should have been more of the sage, wise, older characters, and they shouldn't have, same with Han Solo, I don't think they should have been centrally involved. I think they should have been there to be the sort of torchbearers handing on the torch. They should have been there to be the ones who are passing on the wisdom, instead of trying to recapture something of them. And I think the reason Disney did this was because they tried to have their cake and eat it too. They claimed they were writing a new generation of Star Wars and new characters, but at the same time they tried to keep the old ones around because they know there's probably money in doing that, and so because of that things just got sloppy and messy. I think it would have been far better to actually have them and to follow perhaps more of the continuity that we were given in The Force Awakens, where in actual fact they aren't the primary focus of this all. As I said, it's a bit of sadness for me because I would have much preferred it if they were going to use those characters in a more central way, like they've tried to do at times, if they actually gave them a more fitting send-off instead of things sort of ending the way they do. As per usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts though, so please let me know what you think in the comments section below. And if you like the content I'm creating and you'd like to see more of it, then please support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. There's a link in the description below and a link on screen at the end of this video. That's right, I can hear my theme music too. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily Question.